Hey, welcome to Move Your Mojo, where we will have casual little chats about mindset, movement, and mojo. I'm Jay, a movement specialist, a maverick mystic, and quite frankly, a mojo magician. We're going to talk about how movement heals, mindset matters, and how both will boost your life force mojo. We'll chew on all sorts of topics from breath work, how to balance your energy, reduce stress, shift perspective, ease back pain, have more orgasms, yeah, I went there, to even the nuts and bolts of navigating the logistics of life with ease and flow. We're going to have grace for where we are, yet gear up 1% each day. Here's to living out loud and loving in full color. Rock on. Now let's move your mojo. Welcome to Move Your Mojo, and today I want to share a little bit about an adventure I went on today. I am in North Carolina with Troy, and we are loving it down here as usual. And today we went fly fishing, but before I get into that, I want to back up a little bit. So for about the past 4 years, I've had herons appearing in my life. It started 4 years ago as I was going on neighborhood walks and in a pretty tumultuous time of my life, very stressful, and the heron kept appearing in the neighborhood lake. And I would find myself looking for it and even kind of sending out this silent prayer of a hope that it would appear. And it always would, without fail. Even to the point where one time I was done my entire 5K walk and did not see the heron. I was feeling a little disheartened when suddenly I saw flying right towards me, not right by the lake, but at the sidewalk, this big bird, not one but two, and stood there stunned as I watched 2 herons fly right over my head. And I remember that day so clearly, stopping and feeling overwhelmed with emotion and just feeling this sense of peace. So when you see a heron that often, just randomly starting to appear all the time out of the blue, of course you start looking things up. You know, what does a heron sighting mean, etc. And one of the things that a heron sighting could symbolically exhibit is that you're on the right path and that you're supported. It's that image of those big, beautiful wings as they fly over you or support you, that you are under the wing of the heron, and that you also, like the heron, are willing to stand on your own and trust yourself. And above all, be patient. So the message that I was getting in that time was be still and wait. Pause. There were things that I had to work on and challenges I had to overcome in that time. And as much as I wanted to have a knee-jerk reaction to many things, I was not in a place where I could. So the heron was saying to me, be still and wait. Your moment will come. So after a couple of years of that particular little lake or pond, I actually moved to a new neighborhood, and lo and behold, there was this pathetic little excuse of a creek running close to my neighborhood along my daily walks, and sure enough, there was a heron. And that heron started appearing to me as I was preparing to move again, because that was a temporary home for about a year. I started, as the move got closer, seeing the heron more and more often, to the point where it even flew over a congested highway one day, nowhere near the water, right over my car, which was pretty startling. Fast forward a little bit more, I had another move to another neighborhood in another county and was out on a nature walk, and sure enough, the heron was appearing not just to myself, but also to Troy. Just moved back home to the valley in the past month, and sure enough, we live on a lake. And just the other day, I was on the nature trail for the first time, off the beaten path, if you will, and stopped and paused along this one section of the trail and just said out there to the wild, I'm ready for you. Because Troy had already seen the heron and I had not yet. Where are you? Was my question. And I walk maybe 25 feet or so. And right beside me, I suddenly heard something move and squawk. And I look over, and sure enough, there's this ginormous heron rising up out of the water and then flies over the water to where I had just been, making himself known. So even today, as we are venturing out, not in the mountains of North Carolina, but passing through the Smokies into Tennessee, as we are approaching the body of water that we're going to be fly fishing from, there is suddenly herons. Not one, not two, but 5 herons all along our road to this body of water. And our amazing guide made some pretty good insights into the symbolic meaning of the heron as well, just how the heron hunts and survives. So let's back up for a moment. The Cherokee, since we are in Cherokee land here, call the heron Tisquayi, which means peace emblem. It was a peace emblem that often their athletes wore. So this made me stop and think, does this mean that the heron is to be at peace with others? But what if that peace isn't possible with others? Does it mean to be at peace with oneself? And while I believe both could be true for me personally right now, it really has been a symbol of being at peace with myself through all of the transitions that life has had me going through in the past 4 years. And you often hear, about balance. Even in my last podcast, I talk about this idea of balance and how it's this teeter-tottering and whatnot. And the balance is this pursuit of perfection over progress. But if we look at the heron, you will find that they are this token, this animal that we see it not just on land, but also near bodies of water and also in the sky. And they are, in essence, this place where land, sea, and sky can meet. They have this ability to progress and evolve and pivot, whether it's standing on their own 2 feet in the body of water, transitioning to the sky by flight, or being on land. And to me, that symbolizes not balance, but more of a harmony. If you think of like 3-part harmony, right? They have all 3. And so their progress is found not in a seeking of teetering on one leg like a flamingo and trying to seek perfection, but to instead find this harmony between the 3 elements that they need for survival. And they do so with this fluid movement and grace. They're like watching ballerinas. They have an ease and a flow about them. And so this brings me back to the fly fishing adventure. It's been a long time since I've experienced fly fishing and definitely was rusty. And so our guide was a patient teacher and reminding us that we needed to, just in the fly fishing itself, to feel the movement and how we couldn't have a knee-jerk reaction or pull up hard on the line, but just to have a flow, this lift, pause, cast. Lift, pause, cast. Lift, pause, cast. Like a waltz. So in essence, you start having this dance with the line of your rod, but also with the fish. Because even as you have that fish start to wring your little line and make your piece of yarn bob beneath the water, you pull up quick with a snap, a gentle one. And then you let the fish run. You don't fight it. You watch your line, you watch your pole, you let it curve, you reel it in gentle, you let it run, you reel it in, lift, pause, cast. And so the lesson there for me was, as he said, you have to let the rod be itself. You can't force it to be another type of rod. You don't need to reel it in. You don't need to hold it with your left hand. You want to embrace the uniqueness of the fly fishing rod as it is and let the tool do the work. And the power really for the fly fishing rod is the pause at the top. Let physics take over. Pull up gently. It takes flight. It's graceful as it sails over your head. And you cast. Lift, pause, cast. And if you try to jerk, if you try to pull too fast, if you try to make it do something other than what it's naturally inclined to do, it becomes a tangled mess. And so I think that also goes back to the heron, because as we were leaving our site, we spotted herons again on our way out, and our guide, in all of his wisdom, pointed out the fact that, like any other bird of prey, it's hunting fish, but how differently the heron does this. It doesn't swoop down powerfully like an eagle and watch from afar, come with precision and speed and aerodynamics of a fighter jet. It doesn't do what all the other birds do to find that fish and hunt its prey. Instead, it patiently waits. It stands on its own 2 feet. It may stand for an hour. It may stand perfectly still for 6 hours. It will stand and wait until the fish swims beneath its legs, between its legs, and then snap. It moves with precision and control and decisiveness. So I think the lesson there is obviously the power in the pause, but also that actions speak for themselves. Whether it's interactions with others or even yourself, knowing that you need to watch the flow of the current, watch the little piece of yarn on your string, watch the fish as they swim between your legs. And at the right moment, you act with precision and decisiveness. And in that, you will find, I find, that it requires an immense amount of self-knowledge and self-respect. I think self-respect is a muddy word sometimes. People get this almost aggressive, assertive, combative sense, I think, emotionally, if they hear the word self-respect. You know, Aretha Franklin starts singing somewhere and we're all demanding respect. But really, I think the beauty in the heron's lesson is that the self-respect is knowing thyself. That's self-knowledge. And that you can be calm in that. You're not rattled by others' opinions. You're not rattled when life throws you a curveball. You just stand at the plate and get ready for the next pitch. You hunt with patience. And then when the time is right, you're lightning quick. And I am finding that even now in the past 4 years, maybe that is the heron's message for me over and over as I rebuild a business that gives me great joy and purpose in my life, as I rebuild back in my hometown, as I build in a new relationship, as I build in this new season even of my life where my daughters are heading out to college and I'm an empty nester, what does this mean? What is this next chapter? It's a blank book. And what are you going to write on the pages? But in knowing yourself and in developing your self-respect, that knowledge of who you are, embracing your uniqueness, there is value in silence. I'm a person who loves to meditate, to quiet the mind and try to listen to the body and the senses. And I think a lesson too here with the heron is how they do have to engage their senses. They are still and they have to watch and observe and keep that focus even as they wait, that it is in the stillness where they work. And I think through that we can develop this sense of peace and calm, that there is a patient pursuit of the potential. We don't have to have the knee-jerk reaction. We don't have to force something. We don't have to be another type of bird or a different type of rod. That we are, in fact, just as we are to be, to achieve our purpose here on this planet, whatever that might be. So perhaps this message helps you think about what your purpose is. And if you can't figure out that big question, because that's a doozy, perhaps it's just knowing that the pause is a place of harmony, and that each season brings different change. And I think that if we can simply come to know ourselves and embrace that time of patience and stillness, that we can really develop the knowing of thyself to pursue all that is within our potential. So, may your pause be beautiful. May the answers become clear. May you catch the fish. And we'll talk again soon.